Okay, so we're letting folks trickle in here. We should be about ready to get started. All right. So today we are here with Lavaneesh Gautam. He's one of our professional Scrum trainers here at Scrum.org, and we're going to be talking about splitting product backlog items. So this is a topic that has come up a lot. We get a lot of questions about it, and it is a topic that is covered in our new professional Scrum Product Backlog Management skills training course. So get to learn a little bit about what you could see in there as well. So that is super exciting. So welcome, Lavaneesh, and let's get started.
Okay, so over to you,
Okay.
Lindsay.
So very quickly, so your microphones are muted. However, we do want you to ask questions. So please be sure to utilize the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen to ask any questions that you have. And then this session is also being recorded, so it'll be available within 24 hours. So just very quickly, who is Scrum.org? We are the home of Scrum. We were founded by Ken Schwaber in 2009, and our focus is on helping people and teams solve complex problems. And we do that through our professional Scrum training, certification, and ongoing learning. So we hope that today's webinar plays a part in that ongoing learning piece, and there are a lot of other free resources be sure to check out on our website on Scrum.org. And with that, I will hand it over to Lavaneesh to introduce himself and kick us off with the content.
Thank you, Lindsay. So guys, briefly about me, I will not bore you with who I am, and also my name is Lavaneesh. I am based here in United Kingdom. I'm a professional Scrum trainer with the Scrum.org, and I am on a mission which is very much similar to the Scrum.org. And my mission is helping people and teams delivering great outcomes, not just the outputs, but the results of those outputs, which we call it as the outcome as well. Okay. You can see there are a couple of QR codes. If you want to know more about me, you can scan me, the left hand one. And if you want to know more about my company, through which I deliver my trainings, coaching, and the consulting work, you can scan this right one as well. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide, and also the topic as well, which is about splitting the product backlog item. But first, let's talk about what is a product backlog. So quick review or recap that you can say, few things that you have got from the Scrum Guide 2020 in itself. So what is product backlog? So guys, product backlog is a living artifact. What does a living artifact means is, if the product lives, the product backlog also lives as well. And this is an ever evolving artifact. Okay. And who is accountable for the product backlog? So according to the Scrum Guide, product owner, who is a sole person, is accountable for the product backlog. But however, they can sometimes delegate those responsibilities to other people as well. Those people could be the part of the Scrum team, and maybe sometimes outside the Scrum team as well. Now, how the product backlog get derives as well? It derived by the commitment called the product goal. So our product backlog items are there to meet the product goal, and this product goal helps in the evolution and the emergence of the product backlog. Product backlog is always ordered. What does this mean is that items at the top is always important than the item just below it. And this is why you have to probably spend a little bit more time and effort to figure it out. Okay, why this item is more important than this, which you can say that it is not just about identifying the must have, should have, could have kind of priority, but more about that, okay, even after those must-haves, which one is the top priority as well. Okay, so these are the few characteristics that our product backlogs have got. Now, the next thing, before we even talk about that, how to split or slice or break the product backlog item, first learn that why do we actually want to break them? What is the value we get when we break those big items into the smaller items? So the first one is shorter, or you can say the smaller product backlog items. They enables the faster feedback loop. Feedback loop with what? That, okay, somebody wants something and they get something, and that gap in between that's something we can say is a feedback loop. And when we have got the smaller product backlog items, smaller product backlog items will reach to the done state sooner. And when they reach to the done state sooner, they can go into the users and the customers' hand and can provide the ultimate feedback to us. Okay. This ultimate feedback help us in enhanced learning itself. Learning about what? Learning about whether our target users are right, whether the needs that we think that those users and the customers have got, do those needs actually exist or not? Do those goals of the users and the needs users and the customer actually exist or not? These are the things we learn only when the things go into the users and the customers' hand. And this is the reason, guys, why Scrum is so focused on creating the done increment every sprint so that we can get that true feedback. Okay. Then this faster feedback loop also supports the flow of the value as well. And when we keep delivering those smaller product backlog items, we learn a lot about our own system itself as well. What are the blockers we have got? Where in our process we have got inefficiencies? And these smaller product backlog items, they show us the mirror that how we can get better as well. And once we start fixing those inefficiencies, our flow of value, our processes start getting better as well. Now, this one I like a lot. Okay. This is something many product owners, you can say, give them the headache, which is about the prioritization. When our items are smaller, what we do is we actually can see that where the problems are. Probably we can understand those product backlog items a little bit better. We can see that which of these smaller items, they are better connected with our business goals, our user outcomes, our business outcomes, and it helps us in doing the better prioritization as well. When things are big, everything looks really important. And it becomes very difficult for us to prioritize as well. Then, now, this one again, opportunities for experimentation. Now, whenever I have worked in, especially in the big organization, they hate sometimes, you can say this word experimentation, and they hate it. And my theory on that is that because those risks are quite big. If you've done an experiment and that experiment fails, sometimes it's a big cost to the organization. When our product backlogs are smaller, that risk associated with that failure of that experimentation also goes down as well. And our leadership and the management, they feel much more comfortable with this word experimentation. So my advice, if you are really, really looking for building an experimentation in your world, why not look for some smaller experimentation and some smaller product backlog items as well? Okay. So now, so because you have learned a little bit about the benefit of having those smaller product backlog items, let's just go into how to have the smaller product backlog items as well. Okay. So there are many ways. Okay, there are many ways, but first thing that I would like to share, and you can say the caveat is, don't just split, don't just have the smaller product backlog items for the sake of product backlog items. For an example, last year I was having doing some coaching work in one of the bank, And when I looked into few of the product backlog items that teams were having, some of the product backlog items were, as a tester, I want to test. Guys, those testing, coding, analysis, yes, they have got value on their own, but they do not deliver the value directly to the customers as well. And hence our product backlog items, they should be related with the value. And each product backlog item should be able to deliver the incremental value and should have element of these multiple layers, very much like a cake. If I do a vertical slice of a cake, yes, I can enjoy the cake. But if I just eat a bread or cream or chocolate or something, I probably may not enjoy that cake that much. Maybe few people can, but probably many of us will not. Okay. So this is the reason why we always suggest that, okay, have that vertical slices. Don't just break the product backlog item for the sake of it. Consider every product backlog items as a potential value in itself as well. Okay. And this is where we can start talking about the various ways of slicing or splitting the product backlog items. So the few things that we have got. So yes, there are many ways, but I have picked 5 which I think works a lot. And in my experience, these are the top 5 ways how we can split the work as well. Okay, so the first one is about splitting by the user roles. I'm going to give you example of each of these in the following slides as well, guys. And another one is through the workflow steps. Few users, few personas, sometimes they have got certain workflow steps they have to follow. So we can split by that, split by operations like editing, creation, deleting, what kind of operations we can do, split by business scenarios, or you can say the use cases, and also split by the business rules as well. Okay, so let's start with the first one, which is about split by the user roles. Okay, and why I want to start with that is because for that we need to understand our users and the customers. In our product, it's really, really important for us that we have got that user centricity or the customer centricity. Okay, and splitting our product backlog by the user roles help us, I would say, understanding those users and their associated need a little bit better as well. So for an example, okay, so let's say I'm working on e-commerce organization, okay, or e-commerce company, and one of the features on which we are working on is view the online shopping basket. Okay, so let's say you have gone to their catalog, you have selected few products, and then before you make the payment, you want to see the shopping basket. Now, if I look into this particular feature itself, from the different user role perspective, for a customer who is buying the product, okay, their need that get fulfilled by this view of this online shopping basket is that they just want to check their order before the payment. They want to check whether they haven't got any duplicate products, whether the quantity is right, whether they have got the product which they actually want to buy as well, so that they do not end up paying more and paying extra. And that's a need for a user, for the customers. But sometimes you might have seen that customers are not the only user who would want to view the online shopping basket. Okay, so in many organizations, we have got customer services executives. So for an example, I have got the problem with the order, and I give a call to the customer services executive. Hello, man, I just want to check this basket, but this basket is not showing properly. In those cases, customer services executive, they just want to go and check that basket that you have got and maybe help you out. And in that case, the need that we are fulfilling for this customer services executive is they want to help out the customers during their checkout process. And this eventually will help probably the company to have the better customer satisfaction ratings as well. Okay. Now, both the view that we have got may look a little bit different. And both could be built maybe separately as well by considering the different user roles as well. But don't stop here, guys. Okay. Now, probably we need to ask for a few more questions as well. For an example, customer. Have we got different kind of customers? Okay. And if we have, do we think that the view of these different customers may look a little bit different as well? For an example, if I have got B2B kind of customer or the B2C customer, probably the view might be a little bit different as well. Whether I'm a wholesale or a retail, maybe the way I want to look at that shopping basket might be a little bit different as well. Okay. And again, few of those things that you want to see is how we actually want to interact with our products and the services. Sometimes customer services executive, yeah, you can talk to them via phone, but can you talk to them via chat function as well? So what are the different ways these kind of features could be delivered as well? Okay, so don't stop, ask more questions as well. Okay, now the second, which is about split by the workflow steps. Okay, this is more about that generally a user or customer, they have got the various workflow steps in their journey to complete a feature or complete a job in itself. Okay, and what we try to understand is we try to understand those steps, and each of those steps probably can be a product backlog items on their own. Okay, so for an example, if we are working towards a capability, okay, I am working on a learning management system in an organization, and the capability which I want to build is assessments for e-learning, so that my organization's employees, they can actually take certain tests and assessments kind of a thing. Okay, so what could be the different steps could happen? Okay, learner will log into the account, they can search for the assessment, they can proceed the checkout as well, they can write the assessment, and then they can get results as well. Okay, each of these steps, as we see, could be a different product backlog item, but probably we shouldn't stop with these steps only. We also need to think about is maybe what could be the different ways we can actually log into the system. What could be the different ways we can search the assessment as well? Are there different type of checkout processes as well? Are there different type of writing the assessment as well? Or maybe could be different type how we can get the results as well. And this workflow step could further be broken down into the many further product backlog items as well. Okay. Now, something which I want to show you very quickly is one technique which we are explaining, or you can say showing in our latest product backlog, latest course from the Scrum.org, which is on the product backlog management skills. Okay, so this we call it as the user story burger, guys. Okay, so how this particular technique works. So let's say for an example, if you find out those various steps in the journey of a user to do a particular job, we can think about the multiple options as well. Okay, very much like let's say you are going to a subway. Okay, you want to, or you have got multiple options, isn't it? In multiple options in terms of the bread, multiple options in terms of the sides, multiple option in terms of the patties and things like that. This is very much based on that kind of concept. So for an example, if we have got a feature, okay, the feature that we are working on is there is an organization, a food takeaway, and we want to build a feature that how people can actually order the food in itself. Okay, so if we look into this particular feature, each food order will have all these 4 steps. One around browsing the menu. Okay, another would be once they have browsed the menu, they will be placing the order. When they place the order, they will be making the payment, and after that, the order confirmation. Okay, now if I look into this browser menu option, let's say that's the first step. Okay, how actually a user or a customer can browse the menu. Probably we can provide a PDF of the menu, which they can simply download and read it by themselves. But that PDF is going to be a static one. Okay, it's not something that you can change very often. Okay. And then another option could be a dynamic menu as well, which you can change it quite regularly and quite often as well, where customer can go and actually click on those plus marks, enlarge it, choose certain options from there. But when maybe I'm building my website or my app first time, maybe I can say that, guys, I would love this kind of feature in the future, but at the moment, I can also start with this one as well. And this is where this concept of burger is also coming as well, that what is going to be my first bite as well. And then the second bite, and then the third bite, and then the follow on. So when I'm building my first system, I can say that from the browse menu, for the simplicity's sake, I want to start with downloading the menu. Okay. Another one could be, yeah, I want to have that options for people to actually enlarge those various options and select it, but that may become in the future. Another could be, I can manually email that menu to the customer, but that is a very, very bad option, guys. So that's why I will never do it, and you can mark it as red. Another option could be, we can have our menu on the third-party provider, something like Deliveroo or the Just Eat as well. There are many options how a customer or the user can actually browse the menu, and then you can select which one you want to start first. Second one, placing the order. How you want to place the order? I can place the order via phone if my website has got a phone number on that. Or another could be, maybe the customer need not to even call. They can actually purchase by themselves through the website. Or another option is third. Okay, we haven't got the payment gateway built on our website yet. So what we can do is our partner like Just Eat or Deliveroo, something like that, people can make the payments from there as well. This thing can take a little bit time because we are still in the talk with the Just Eat and the Deliveroo. We haven't got the payment gateway yet. So guys, why not? Our customers can simply call us for the moment as well. Okay. After that, making the payment, you can make the payment over the phone. You can take the payment using the card as well. You can take the payment using the PayPal, but maybe I never want to have the PayPal payment. So let's cross it out. Okay. And payment through the third party as well. Because these things are taking a little bit time, I can simply take the payments over the phone. And I can still deliver value to my customers. And the few things can keep coming in the later stages as well. Same thing with the order confirmation. Yeah, I would love to give confirmation of the order to my customers, but at the moment I haven't got that capability. So maybe I can still give them a confirmation over the phone itself that yes, I have taken the order, mate. You can get your food in the 30 minutes or the 25 minutes or whatever it is. And there could be, yes, you want to send email of that order confirmation manually, but that's not a really great option because it will be very time consuming. So cross it out. Maybe my preferred option in the future could be that we can auto generate that confirmation email and send it to the people, or maybe send via text as well. And that's something that we can explore in the future as well. But if you see this, all these green ones, I can still sell my food to my customers. Okay. And this is what it's all about, that, okay, what could be your first bite? What could be your second bite? And then what could be the third bite? And this is, I have found a really great way of refining our product backlog items as well. Something that you can take it into your product backlog refinement sessions, or if you're doing it ad hoc, and think about what could be the multiple ways we can deliver these steps. Okay. Through .csv files, maybe, okay, or through the manual entries. There are always multiple technical options as well. You can apply those technical options into these places as well. And you will find that the refinement session, they will be much, much more engaging. And moreover, you can start finding out how we can actually start as well. Really powerful way, guys. If you want to go ahead and try, awesome. Okay. Now, next one. about split by operations. Okay. Now, whenever we are working on any system, sometimes there are quite a lot of things happen as well. Okay. So for an example, if I'm working on a HR system, let's say for an example, okay. And in the HR system, we are talking about the employee records. Okay. Now I can apply this CRUD rule. So which you can say the create, read, update, delete, and all of these operations can be the smaller product backlog item on their own. So for an example, okay, who are the people who can create an employee record in the HR system? Not everybody can. Probably only the HR people can create the employee record, or maybe the line manager. Okay, not everybody can do that. So this could be a feature on its own. This could be a product backlog item on its own. And then, for an example, reading. What data of an employee everybody can read? What data of employee only line manager can read? Okay, what data only the HR people can read? This even the reading of the data of an employee could also be broken down into the multiple ways in itself. Then what about update? Who can make those updates? Oh yeah, HR people, they can update when the people they exit, and they can add details about the exit interviews and the things like that. But if it is about the annual objectives and more about their promotions and the bonus and the things like that, maybe line manager can also do that as well. Okay, and all those things that further could be broken down as well. And then again, delete. Who can delete the record of an employee? Probably only an HR. Okay. Now you can see even in this one example itself, I have not only used the user roles, I have also used the business operations as well. And this one screen which is in front of you probably can be broken down into 30 to 40 product backlog items in itself. Okay. And that's something that we can look as well within our systems as well. Okay. Now, the next one, which is about the business case or the use cases and the business scenarios as well. Okay. So sometimes whenever we are working on certain features, certain product backlog items, okay, there could be many use cases associated with it. Sometimes these use cases, you can find them into the user acceptance criteria or the acceptance criteria associated with that product backlog item as well. So one of the small, which, and when I'm saying small, something can give you a sign of an anti-pattern or something, I have learned was that if bigger the acceptance criteria is, there are very high chances you can break that product backlog item as well. Okay, so because we try to add quite a lot of use cases within those acceptance criteria. So let's take a very simplistic example, a user login. Okay, now this user login could be broken down into many different product backlog items. So the first one, what if the username and the passwords are right? That user or the customer, they can successfully log into our system. Second one, what if I forgot the username? Okay, and what if I even forgot the password in itself? Maybe when I'm building my system first time, maybe I'm not even asking for the username or providing this feature of forgot username. Only thing I want is maybe the forgot password, or maybe not even providing the forgot password feature as well. If you are not able to log in successfully to the system, guys, just email us and we can send you another password as well. Okay. Now, another one that could be, what if I provide the wrong username and the password? And if that happens, what kind of message should I get? What kind of error message should I get? What are the next step for me? That could also be a separate product backlog item in itself as well. Now, what about if I keep adding those username and the password multiple number of times? Do we want to lock that person out? Or maybe we can say, guys, don't lock it for the moment. We can add this level of security maybe a little bit later, but at the moment, let's just let that person typing their incorrect credentials multiple number of times. Okay, that could also be a separate product backlog item as well. And then what about remembering me? If I have put a right username and the password, then remember me for the next 7 days, or the next 2 days, or the next 3 days. Okay, that can also be a separate product backlog item. And I can keep on adding on this. What about the different ways of login? You can log in through the single sign-on. You can log in through the Gmail, or you can log in through the LinkedIn. Okay, or you can just simply log in with the email and the password. Even this user login can be broken down into further 9 to 10 product backlog item in itself. Okay, and you can multiply it with multiple times if your user roles are different as well. Who is logging in? Is the customer logging in, or is the admin logging in? Both admin and the user and the customer might be having the different kind of features as well. So you can further break this thing down as per the user, different user roles and the different user types as well. Okay. And let's go with the business rules. Okay, so this is something I encountered quite recently. So I was working on my my own website, and something that I was seeing was that, okay, if somebody is coming from UK and then buying a course or something, I want to apply the VAT. Okay, and if somebody is not from the UK, then don't apply the VAT. This is a business rule in itself as well. And then I can add one more feature associated with it as well, that okay, when I generate the invoice for that customer, mention the VAT amount. And when I'm doing it here, make it clearly that VAT has not been charged because the customer is outside the UK. So let me tell you guys what actually happened. So I built this feature, okay, but for this one, I simply said, guys, you can send me, I can send you an invoice. This feature, this kind of payment, I cannot take at the moment. This can come in the future on my website as well. It's just to show you that there are options. When we work with the product backlog, there are always options as well. These business rules could be, few business rules could be deferred. Few business rules could be built right now in itself as well. But it is again all about providing the value, providing some value to not only your users, customers, but also to your businesses as well. So here, what I will do, I will stop. And what we can do is we can have few questions if people have got.
Yeah, so there are a ton of questions here. So we will try to get through as many of these as we possibly can. So for those of you that are entering, for those of you here on the Zoom that are entering questions into the chat, I just ask you to move them into the Q&A panel. That's where I'm going to be pulling the questions from. So this first question here, can we have more than one backlog per product?
Hey, if I say, can you, it depends again as well. If I use the Scrum Guide is very clear on that. The Scrum Guide says one product owner, one product backlog. Okay, but I will not be like to be a Scrum police. Okay, I would like to go into what is the problem. If you have got one product with the multiple product backlog, imagine how many product backlogs product owners have to maintain. And I have seen these kind of people, and then the product owners, only thing they do is they bury themselves in the product backlog management. They spend less time in the product strategy, less time with building up the roadmaps, less time sometimes with the stakeholders as well. And that's a cost that we need to see. Don't just go by the rules, but also see if we don't do that, what is the problem? Your product owners will be having the really, really less time. And then more importantly, if you have got multiple backlogs, which backlog is more important? Because each one have their own priorities in their own orders as well. Out of those 3 product backlogs itself, which one is the topmost priority? We will start losing the transparency. Scrum is all about what? Transparency, inspection, adaptation, and the empirical process will get impacted. And that's where I would say, if possible, don't do that. Don't do that. It will cause much more problems.
Okay, thank you. So how can we measure the value of PBIs? At what levels should that happen?
Okay, great. How we can measure the value of a PBI? You can only measure it, isn't it, when the product backlog item is delivered actually. Everything before that is an assumption. And only when things get released, we learn that whether that assumption has been true or not. And this is one of the key benefit, which I explained earlier, was that shorter feedback loop in itself. You do not know something is valuable unless it's going in the users and the customer's hand as well. But obviously you want to know as well that, okay, what could be that assumed value? How you can figure it out? For that, product owners, they need to work with the stakeholders. Okay, they need to understand probably quite a lot of factors like dependencies, maybe the risks, maybe the return of investment as well, maybe the size of the work sometime as well. Sometimes you just want to go ahead and focus on the low-hanging fruits. Okay, so there will be a lot of factors, I would say, that you need to contribute in the order of the product backlog and understanding the value of those product backlog items as well. But everything is an assumption unless it's not going into the users and the customer's hand. And that's why we need the shorter product backlog item, because the bigger product backlog item has got bigger risk. I always consider the smaller product backlog item is one of the best risk mitigation and the risk identification strategy. So, yeah.
That's great, Lavaneesh. Thanks. And there's a question here that kind of plays devil's advocate with what you just shared. So how small is too small for a product backlog item?
Awesome. How small it should be? I would say as small as possible, but still valuable. Okay. Now let me explain this a little bit. So
great.
So when we were going through those various ways of breaking those product backlog items into the smaller product backlog items, each of those things which I explained were the value that could be offered to the users and the customers in itself. Okay, so hence the smaller it is, but still delivering the value is good. But I would not break it if it has started becoming more like, as an analyst, do this. Okay. If I cannot associate some kind of value to it, that's a really good sign for me that probably I shouldn't have broken this down to that level. And it depends upon from product to product as well. Okay. So understanding our product is really, really important for this thing as well. But my always suggestion would be each product backlog item should be valuable. That's the one important thing, and as shorter as possible at the same time as well. Balance. That's what we're looking for.
Right. Finding that perfect balance there. So this question here, could you please explain what horizontal slicing is and the difference with vertical slicing?
Okay, yeah. So the horizontal slicing, when I was saying, was more around that when we started breaking our product backlog items and for those layers in itself. Okay, so when we're talking about those layers, so for an example, each product backlog item is, let's say, for the coding. Okay, product backlog item for testing, product backlog item for deploying to the production, product backlog item for maybe something else, whatever the kind of work that you're doing. Those, I would say, are the horizontal slices. Okay, they have got all those things needs to be get done, but they do not deliver value on their own to the users and the customers. And that's why when we talking about the vertical slicing, it's about that each of those product backlog items should be valuable. So that's why each product backlog item should be having a combination of, if I use the software product language, so a bit of analysis, bit of design, bit of user experience, bit of coding, bit of testing, and bit of deployment as well. And all those things needs to happen to deliver the value to the users and the customers. And that's what the vertical slicing means is. And then I can also break it. Oh yeah, coding, one product backlog item, analysis, one product backlog item, and maybe a testing, one product backlog item. And this is not how it should happen. This is something very much linked with the, you can say, the cross functionality as well. Many teams which I have seen, they are like, oh, we are an analyst team. In those cases, they are very much like the component teams, and component teams, sometimes they cannot deliver value on their own, and this something creates more dependencies as well. And that's a problem. More dependencies, more weight, and the more waste in our system and our processes as well. That's my opinion.
Thank you. All right, so going back to the hamburger example.
Yes.
So how is that practice different than the story mapping practice?
Yes. So I would say, yes, it is very, very similar to the story mapping. As you can see that, okay, but the only difference that you will see in the story mapping and the hamburger is sometimes story mappings are done at much bigger level, where we're talking about, okay, as a user, what is the user journey look like for, I would say, the quite big steps in itself. So I give you one example. Let's say for an example, I am looking for mortgage, okay, looking for home loan or something. There will be what I need to do. Bank will check my affordability. After that affordability, they will check my credit history and all that. They will check whether I'm not with the fraud, anti-money laundering, and the things like that. After that, they will give me the final quote. And if I'm happy with the final quote, then the customer services. And then after that, if I don't make the payment, debt management, and the things like that. So these big things which I just mentioned, sometimes the user stories are done at that level. Okay. And maybe what we're talking about this hamburger method is it can be done very at the, you can say, the few levels down as well. So maybe for each feature that you can do as well, maybe for the user stories, if you are writing the user stories, maybe you can do for that as well. And the one thing I have learned over the time period is you can use it for the technical work as well sometime. Okay, what could be the multiple option for this particular step, the technical step? Okay, maybe this architecture is better, maybe this architecture is better, maybe this solution is better, maybe this solution is better. You can further break it down to the technical aspect as well. So the concept is same. The hamburger method is probably could be applied to the very small level of the things as well, whereas the user story mapping generally is applied at much larger and a much bigger level. But the concept and the intent for both is very, very similar. And really good question. Was it helpful?
Yes, I am here. Sorry, I was on mute for a second. So that was helpful. Thank you. So we're going to jump a little bit to splitting items by workflow steps. So when you're splitting items by workflow steps, how do you manage dependencies? One dev cannot start the second step item if the first is not ready. Are they prioritized after each other?
And this is where I would say we can remember. So one of the things that I mentioned in the benefit of a smaller product backlog item was the better prioritization. Yes, I cannot even go ahead with the second step sometime if my first step is not even done. And even if I'm going to test it out with my users and with my customers, they cannot see the things in the connection as well. And this is where the product owner, it could be really helpful for them that, okay, guys, what do we want to see is whether people can actually log into our system or not. Let's test this thing out. Okay. And when they can log into our system, whether they can find the assessment or not, probably that will come naturally next forward as well. Okay. So these are the things. This makes our prioritization and understanding of our work a little bit better as well. So yes, you will be having a bit of dependencies, but we want to know those dependencies, isn't it? And when we learn our workflow steps better, probably we can understand the dependency better and maybe then connect those things as well. But each of those things, they are the value on their own. I can still test it out with my users and the customer, whether they can log into our system or not. That is still valuable enough, I think. At least we are learning from that. So that's where the learning is really, really important as well. Sometimes we think that value is all about just going to the market and let the people buy our product, but there is a lot of value in the learning as well. And this is how it can help us in building that experimentation culture as well. The smaller the product backlog items, and the more we can do the experimentation as well, because the risk has gone down a little bit.
Okay, great. Thank you. So let's see here. We have a lot of great questions here. Just to give everybody a general idea, we're going to get through as many of these as we can, and whatever we don't get through, we'll figure out a way to address them. Here's an interesting question. Can you give an example of a non-splittable big backlog item?
Non-splittable product backlog item.
One that is not splittable.
Oh, okay. That's a really good one. Non-splittable product backlog item. Okay.
Possible loaded question, but let's see.
yeah. So I would say, as an admin, I am logging into any system, let's say for an example, through single sign-on. And that I would say maybe is quite a good one. But again, if the single sign-on is the multiple types you have got as well, that's further we can be broken down. So let's say the another one I would say, okay, I can log into my system using my Google profile. That's still valuable. Okay. And I can specify the user probably as an admin as well. So that I would say is quite, I don't think you can further break it down as well.
Okay, thank you. So let's see. We covered some of these questions. A lot of people are asking some of the same questions here. So let's see. Here's a metrics question. So what would you suggest for metrics to use to track progress of user stories? Are you suggesting to split user stories into tasks? Do devs do that?
Right. I think I need a little bit more context behind this question as well, because when we're talking about the metric, are we talking about the valuable metric, or are we talking more about the size of the work in itself? So I think I need a little bit more.
Yeah, if you want to clarify that, please send that to me as a direct message in the chat. That was from someone anonymous.
Yeah.
Okay. So, do you advocate using story points to help size PBIs in order to break down the backlog?
Oh, that's a very, very good, and I would say very, very common question as well. So if you are saying the story points, my personal opinion, I do not like the story points, guys. And my reason for that is story points, sometimes they are based on the guesswork. Okay. And that's why I like facts. Okay. And I'm big fan of flow metrics. Big fan of the flow metrics, or something like the cycle time, and using the techniques like you can say the right size, as you said, that okay, only thing just figure it out is whether you can complete these stories within your SLE, which we call in Kanban word service level expectation. If you can maybe complete in that, what's the confidence look like? And if your confidence is good, just crack on with it, and then measure your cycle time and the throughput. And I can bet you cycle time and the throughput are much better than the story point, because they are fact. When you are identifying the story points, you sometimes do not even know that that okay, this item can get blocked because of a dependency. Oh, this item got, let's say, blocked because environment got failed. When we are looking into the cycle time and the throughput, those flow metrics, those are fact, and these inefficiencies within our system, they will get reflected within our metrics as well. So your cycle time automatically will be more if you hit a dependency. And if that dependency is not solved, I would say in the few days or something, your cycle time is keep on increasing in itself. And that will reflect again on your end of that cycle time as well. So this is what I would say. I am big fan of using the flow metrics rather than the story point. But again, if the story points work for you within your environment, why not? But I don't choose to use them anymore. I prefer the flow metrics are much better. But that's my opinion.
Okay.
And which is a good one. I have got good success with that.
Awesome. Something for folks to try here. So we have time for maybe one, maybe two more questions here. So this question here, when a PO delegates the backlog, I'm guessing they mean backlog management, to the developers, a typical issue is that PBIs are technical implementation stories. Can you share your experience on how to steer the backlog to customer-focused PBIs? For example, this is a component team.
Very good question as well. Means delegation comes with the maturity as well. That's one thing I would like to start with. Okay. And what does mean is, yes, the product owner can delegate some of the product backlog management responsibilities to the developers. But remember, they are still the ultimate accountable for the product backlog as well. So, and we need to see that. For an example, okay, my daughter, I have got a 5-year-old daughter. Okay, she goes to a school, and I am accountable for her learning. Okay, and what I do is I have delegated that responsibility to the school, but I'm still accountable for her learning still. Okay, if my daughter's school, if it's not doing a good job, probably I will have a word with them as well and talk to them as well. And this is where I would say product owner cannot just simply say, oh yeah, I have delegated that responsibility and I'm back off. Okay, remember, you are still accountable for that. Okay, and if someone who you have delegated that responsibility is not doing the job properly, probably you need to mentor them. Maybe you can coach them, maybe you can show them, okay, how to get that thing a little bit better as well. And that's where I would think that would be much more helpful, because now you are building a skills within the team, how they can actually create the better, I would say, the product backlog item as well. I'm a firm believer of that all the product backlog items should be connected with the users and the customers, or in itself. Okay, even if we see the user story format as a user, who is the user? We shouldn't have the user stories like, as a tester, I want to test. No, it shouldn't be. Okay. As a product owner, definitely I would, if this product backlog item hasn't got that right, I would say quality, I would probably coach, mentor, and teach. Maybe I can do those things as well, so that my developers, they also learn how to write the user stories or the product backlog items, which are valuable to the users, valuable to the customers. We can't run away from that accountability.
Hey, great. Thank you. All right. So unfortunately, we have just about come to our time. We want to be conscious of everybody's time here. So thank you so much, Lavaneesh, for going through these techniques for us. This was great. I am dropping a link for everyone to a blog that Lavaneesh just published that covers some of these techniques. And we will work on getting unanswered questions answered in some way, shape, or form. I will connect with Lavaneesh and we will figure out a way to address your questions. And everyone will be getting a copy of the recording and the slides in your email if you attended here on the Zoom, and it'll also be available on our YouTube channel as well. So with that, just a reminder to everybody that we have learning paths on the Scrum.org website to help continue your learning, with lots of resources on there, webinars like this one, and also videos and case studies and things like that. So please be sure to check that out. And also, please stay connected with us on our social media channels and through our blog, as well as our forums. That's a great place to go to for help as well. And thank you so much, Lavaneesh, for taking the time today. And thank you to everyone who attended. We got some great questions and interactions here, and I hope everyone got value out of it.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.